Hello lovely scholars, welcome back to the channel. Today we are introducing multiplication to the grade 4 students. So we're looking at multiplying simple common fractions. Now the idea is before we multiply our fractions, we always try to reduce the fractions to their lowest terms because it's easier that way. By reduce, we mean we're going to see if we can find a factor that can divide into any pair of numbers, and it has to be one number at the top with one number at the bottom. So it has to be any number up here that can reduce another number down the bottom. We can't go sideways. So you can't say, okay, 3 can go into 9, let's reduce 3 and 9. You can't do that. Or we can't say 2 can go into 8, let's reduce 2 and 8. Or 2 can go into 4 and 10. You can't go sideways. It has to be something at the top with something at the bottom. Alright, and we try and see if we can reduce it as much as we can. Then when we can't reduce it any further, we multiply the numerators, we multiply the denominators, and we see in our final answer we might be able to divide to reduce it again. So multiplying fractions boils down to reducing the fractions to the lowest terms. So let's go. We have 2/3 and we're multiplying it by 1/9. Is there any number at the top with the numerators that can reduce the bottom? Well, 2 can't go into 3 without a remainder. 2 can't go into 9 without a remainder. And we know 1 will give us back the same answer if we divide it. So we don't try to reduce 1 or reduce a number by 1. So actually there's nothing that can be reduced here. So we just go ahead and multiply. 2 times 1 gives 2, 3 9s, 27. That's our answer for that one. For this one, if we look carefully, we realize that 5 can go into 15. Or we could say 5 can go into 10. You can do whichever way. Excuse me. Can't do both. You can't say 5 into 10 and then go back to the 5 into 15. You have to decide which one are you going to use. Some students might reduce the 5 and the 10. Some might decide to reduce the 5 and the 15, or some students might look and say, but 9 and 15 can be reduced. We can use 3. 3 can go into 9, 3 can go into 15. Whichever one you decide to do first, whichever pair you decide to reduce, and then go to the next, you should get the same answer as the person who decided to do something else first and then the other thing. You should all end up with the same answer if you reduce them properly. It does not matter which one you did first. So I'm going to reduce the 5 and the 10. 5 goes into itself once and 5 goes into 10 2 times. Right? So we no longer have 5 and 10, we now have a half. I'm going to use 3 to divide the 9 and also to divide the 15. So 3 goes into 9 3 times and 3 goes into 15 5 times. So what I'm left with now, I have 3 times 1, which is 3, and I have 5 times 2, which is 10. So my final answer is 310. Do you see that? 310. Alright, so let's go to these. I can choose to cancel the 6 and the 9 first, using 3 to divide them, or, remember we can do it, once it's top to bottom, we can do it slant, diagonally, not this way or that way, but we can do it straight down or diagonally. So I can actually use 2 to reduce the 6 and the 8. I can do that if I want, or I can use 3 to reduce the 6 and the 9. So I'm going to use 3. 3 goes into 6 2 times and 3 goes into 9 3 times. If you look carefully, you see that you can do another reduction. because you can reduce 2 and 8 now. You can use 2 to divide into the 2 and the 8. So 2 goes into itself once and 2 goes into 8 4 times. So what are we left with now? We have 5 times 1, which gives 5, and we have 4 times 3, which gives 12. 5/12 is in its simplest form. It cannot be reduced. So this is our final answer, 5/12. Here we go now. We can reduce the 4 and the 16, or we can reduce the 8 and the 16. Nothing up here can work with the 9 to reduce it, right? 4 can't go into 9. There's nothing that can go into the 4 that can go into the 9 except 1. 8 can't go into 9, right? So it's either going to be the 4 and the 16 or the 8 and the 16. I'm going to use the 8 and the 16 because the bigger the number you use, the quicker you solve the problem. So I'm going to say 8 goes into itself once and 8 goes into 16 2 times. And then looking again, I see that I can do another reduction using the 2 and the 4. So I can say 2 goes into itself once and 2 goes into 4 twice. So finally what I have is 1 times 2, which is 2, and 9 times 1, which is 9. So 2 9ths is in its simplest form. It cannot be reduced any further. So the final answer is 2 9. Alright, so we're done with the first row. Second row. Looking at the second row, I'm seeing where I can reduce the 5 and the 10. There's nothing I can do to reduce the 3 or the 11, right? Nothing up here can reduce the 11. Nothing down here can reduce the 3. So I'm going to work with the 5 and the 10. 5 goes into itself once and 5 goes into 10 twice. So what we're left with is 1 times 3, which is 3, and 11 times 2, which is 22. Now 3 over 22 is in its lowest form. There's nothing that can reduce 3 and 22, so we leave them like that. This is the final answer. Alright, so we have 8/20 times a quarter. I have options. I can use the 4 to reduce the 8, or I can reduce it this way and divide both of these numbers by 4. They have a common factor of 4. I can choose. So I'm going to go this way first. 4 into 4, 1. 4 into 8, 2. And then I realize I can reduce again because I can use the 2 to reduce the 20. Remember now, we want to reduce it as far down as we can so that we have smaller numbers when it's time to multiply. We're making things easier on ourselves. So the more you reduce it, the easier it is for you. If you leave some without reducing, you're going to end up with bigger numbers when you multiply. You're still going to have to reduce it in the answer. So do it the easier way. Reduce it from over here till you can't find anything else to reduce, and then you multiply. So I'm going to use the 2 into itself once, 2 into 20, 10. So what I'm left with at the top, in the numerator, I'm left with 1 times 1, which is just 1, and 10 times 1, which is just 10. So 1/10, of course, cannot be reduced any smaller. That is our final answer. Alright, what do we have here? I'm seeing where I can reduce the 3 and the 30, and I can reduce the 11 and the 22. 11 can go into 22. 11 goes into itself once, and it goes into 22 2 times. 3 goes into itself once, and it goes into 30 10 times. And look, again, we can do another reduction. 2 can go into 10. So 2 goes into itself once, and 2 goes into 10 5 times. What we are left with is 1 times 1, which is 1, and 1 times 5, which is 5. So 1/5 is our final answer. We know that can't reduce anymore. If we reduce this anymore, it's left to bones, just bones. So we have 715 times 20, 21st. And we're going to look now to see. We can use a 5 to reduce the 15 and the 20. And 7 can go into 21. So we can go diagonally for both of them. So 5 goes into 15 3 times and 5 goes into 24 times. 7 goes into itself once and 7 goes into 21 3 times. What are we left with now? We have 1 times 4, which is 4. And we have 3 times 3, which is 9. 4 nines is in its simplest form. There's no number that can divide 4 and 9 except 1. So this is the simplest term. That's our final answer. We have 8/10 times 2 quarters, 2 fourths. There's a lot of things we can do here. We can cancel the 2 and the 4, or the 2 and the 10. Or we can use 2 to cancel the 8 and the 10, or use 2 to cancel the 8, or use 4 to cancel the 8 and the 4. We can go any way we want with this one, any which way, several ways. So I'm going to use the 4 to cancel. 4 into 4, 1, 4 into 8, 2. And then I'm going to say 2 into 2, 1, 2 into 10, 5. So what we're left with, 2 times 1 is 2, and 5 times 1 is 5. So 2/5 is our final answer. 3 quarters times 8 ninths. 4 and 8 can cancel each other out, reduce each other. 3 and 9 can reduce each other. So we're going to do that. 3 into 3, 1, 3 into 9, 3. 4 into 4, 1, 4 into 8, 2. So we have 1 times 2, which is 2, and 1 times 3, which is 3. Our final answer, 2/3. 4/5 times 15 over 20. We can go diagonally here. We can also go vertically for these two, using 5 to reduce them. We could do that. It's up to you, it's up to you. So let's go diagonally. 5 goes into itself once, 5 goes into 15 3 times. 4 goes into itself once, 4 goes into 20 5 times. So we are left with 1 times 3, which is 3, and 1 times 5, which is 5. So we're left with 3/5, which is its simplest form. That cannot be reduced. And 3/5 times 10 twelfths. So we can again go diagonally as well as we can go vertically with these two. So I'm going to say 5 goes into itself once and 5 goes into 10 twice. 3 goes into itself once, 3 goes into 12 4 times. And we can reduce again the 2 and the 4. 2 goes into itself once, 2 goes into 4 2 times. So our final answer then, our final answer is 1 times 1, which is 1. 1 times 2, which is 2. So our final answer is 1/2, a half. So we're done with the third batch. We have one batch to go. One batch to go. So we have 1/3 times 5/6. Well, I'm looking and I don't think anything can be reduced there. I don't, because nothing can cancel the 5 and the 6, nothing can reduce the 5 and the 3. So we're just going to have to go ahead and multiply the numerators, multiply the denominators. We're just going to have to work with it. There's nothing we can reduce. So 1 times 5 gives 5. 3 sixes are 18. And 5/18 cannot be reduced any simpler. There's nothing that can divide 5 and 18 except 1, which will make no difference. So that is our final answer. 2 7 times 10 twelfths. We can cancel vertically. We can use 2 to divide the 10 and the 12, or we could use 2 to divide the 2 and the 12. I'm going to go this way. I'm going to go vertically. 2 goes into 10 5 times, 2 goes into 12 6 times. We can still use 2 to reduce to 6 diagonally. So 2 goes into itself once and 2 goes into 6 3 times. So what are we left with? In the numerator we have 1 times 5, which is 5. In the denominator we have 7 times 3, which is 21. So our final answer is 5/21. 5 over 21. Okay, so we're almost done. We're almost done. We have a half times 3/5. Again, I'm not seeing where anything can be reduced. No, nothing can be reduced there. So 1 times 3 gives 3, and 2 5s give 10. And 3/10 is in its simplest form, cannot be reduced any lower than that. Okay. Finally, we have 1/17 times 17/20ths. Immediately we see that the 17 can reduce itself, right? Every number can reduce itself. Every number can go into itself once. So 17 goes into itself once. And all we're left with after that, 1 times 1, 1, and 1 times 20, 20. So we did 16 fractions. I always love to give you lots of opportunity to practice, lots of practice so that you can hone your skills, sharpen your skills, right? So the more you do, the better you get. So we did all 16 and we are proud of ourselves. If you have been helped by this video, please just comment to say, Miss, thank you. And I would encourage you to share the video to your friends, family members, your classmates, your neighbors, so they can benefit as well. If you have not subscribed, please subscribe. And let me know in the comments if you want me to do a video on a particular topic. Let me know what the topic is and I'll do that for you. So take care and I'll see you in the next video.